Hello, and thank you for joining us again for another episode of our Cheyenne and Arapaho Productions podcast. I'm Darren Brown, the senior content producer here at Cheyenne and Arapaho Productions. And with me for the, third time?
Third time,
15th time? I don't know, something like that.
Third time.
Is our Albert Old Crow, our Tribal Council Coordinator for 2025. Welcome back.
Thank you
How's
for
it going?
having me. It's very busy. Glad to be in here in studio with you.
All right. Well, I know it's busy. Look at all this paper he brought us this time. He brought us half of a book.
2 trees.
Well, where do you want to start, Albert?
Okay. Main thing I want to talk about is remote voting, remote participation voting. At our annual tribal council meeting, we usually have anywhere from 200 to 500 people show up to participate in person. And out of that, they represent, that number is making decisions for all of the tribal members. And so my thought was, again, making use out of technology. We looked at the Constitution, and we're good to go on that. If an individual has a smartphone, laptop, desktop, internet access, they'll be able to vote in real time.
Now, you speak like this is going to happen. I'm sure there are a lot of hoops to jump through and a lot of things to get done before it does.
What some of those hoops are, we are shooting for a special tribal council meeting in August. We are collecting signatures on a petition right now. We got to have 150 verifiable,
and that's to have the special
meeting.
Okay,
and out of that, we will have a demonstration there on how the remote participation will work, how secure it is, and hopefully, we'll have people that will step forward and vote to have this happen, so that we can come out of the dark ages and make it available to all tribal members that can access. Now, I did speak with a guy yesterday from Arizona, and it sounded like he still got a flip phone.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. One thing I want to bring up, because I was looking through this, and actually there was I think you sent us an email about this. It says proposal to allow remote participation in tribal council meetings, and I'm going to read this first part. Because I'll be honest, I'm not a tribal member, first of all, but yes. I'm sure there's a lot of tribal members who have not taken the time or have had the time,
or they've looked at it and skipped over it.
Yeah. So the CNA Constitution, which was ratified? Yeah,
implemented
in 2006.
Yes,
right. Okay, I'll read it. It says the Constitution under Article 5 outlines the composition and powers of the tribal council, but does not state that members must be physically present in order to vote. The Constitution states, regarding tribal member attendance, Article 5, Tribal Council, Section 3A, that, quote, the tribes shall provide bus transportation for members of the tribes to attend the actual meeting, unquote. This shall be accomplished as it previously had, with transit buses being used at a cost usually under $2,000. By contrast, Article 6, Section 7 III, which governs the legislative branch, specifies that, quote, all decisions of the legislature shall be made by a majority vote of the legislators present unless otherwise specified in this Constitution, unquote. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, however, legislators have been permitted to attend, participate, and vote remotely, a practice that has improved access and participation. So, like I said, my reading of this was, are you the one who wrote this? I mean, it came from your office.
It generated out of my office.
I think in my attempt here, it basically is what it's saying, that is, if since COVID and if legislators are permitted to pretend and vote remotely, then why can't the rest of us? Is that kind of in a nutshell what this says?
Yes.
And it doesn't. Now, the sentence that says the Constitution does not state that members must be physically present. I take it there's other wording that's not included in here that says that specifically.
Correct. And so out of that, we have made a move with this to push it forward, and none of the judicial branch has come forward and through any barriers in making this happen.
So you've spoken with the judicial. I can't even say it either. You've talked with the judicial branch.
We have sent correspondence. Yes.
Okay. And have you heard back, or do you have not heard back?
We could not get a date.
Okay.
Set to get everybody, because one was gone this week, another one was gone the next week, and so
is this how far along are you guys with this? I mean, is this something that came up and it's been in the works for a couple of weeks or a couple of months? How does this all come together?
I put it on the table like 1st of February.
Okay. And I think before we started, you mentioned, because I was wondering where it came from. I mean, I've heard people, other members, tribal members, discuss this for years. And like you said, you want to break into the 21st century. But where did this come from? Is this? I mean, I'm assuming people always come up with you as tribal council coordinator, saying we should do this, we should do this, we should do this.
Surprisingly enough, no.
Oh, this is yours. Hear that, folks? It's all his fault. Okay. Well, so let's talk about this. I mean, you've got some paperwork happening here. It's obviously something that you feel strongly about.
Most definitely, because there are individuals that would like to attend, but because of health reasons, not able to attend. I know the individual out in Hammond, he says, yeah, I would be there, but my health just doesn't allow for the ride, the time factor from Hammond to Concho. And for those OU football fans, they can vote from the stadium.
Yeah, that's now. Last year we, I don't know if maybe the switch to the SEC changed things around or what happened, but last year I was like, here we go again. Missed the OU Texas game, but the OU Texas game actually was on a different weekend last year.
Yes.
I haven't checked with this year yet.
I don't know. I don't know either.
But either way, there's football of some kind happening.
Yes, and I haven't pressed the issue because you had read there that the legislators shall be made by a majority vote of the legislators present unless otherwise specified in the Constitution. The Constitution does not specify that they can vote remotely. Nothing has ever been.
Okay, yeah.
And so essentially what they're doing is not within the Constitution from what this reads, from the way this reads.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've got a couple of quotes pulled from the Constitution, but there's obviously stuff written like as I've read, it was stuff that's not that came from your hand or
yes,
that was written in to kind of like explain it.
Chat GPT.
Sure. Well, like I said, to get it across and see.
Yes.
Here's how we see it.
And also, one of the things that I really like about this situation is the fact that in the budget, $14,000 for fuel cards for a handful of people to attend from out of state. Okay? What this will cost is half of that. And it won't be just for a handful of people. It will be available to every tribal member that is enrolled to vote.
So I guess my first question is, I would say, every time we do anything here or anytime you buy anything, you have to get, with your tribal program, you got to get 3 quotes for everything you do.
Yes.
And plus you want to see who does the best job of doing it. And you have calls and Zoom calls and people want to give you a demonstration of how their product works. But I think if this were a situation where they would have to go to every tribal member and hand them an apparatus, I can only imagine that would be difficult to do. This sounds like as a thing maybe like an app on your phone or something like that.
Correct. There is pre-registration that will help with the security factor so that an individual cannot say, I'm going to vote remotely and then show up at the meeting and possibly vote twice.
Yeah.
If somebody does try that, and when it's brought to, because it will be brought to the surface, then the penalty on that is they have to attend one tribal council meeting in person. They lose the opportunity to vote remotely.
Sure, yeah. And so I'm assuming, how many companies have you talked with about this?
We've talked with 3, and 2 of the 3 could not touch it. The one
what do you
company,
mean by that?
They did not have capability to do what we are after. And the company that supplies the voting devices currently that we've used the past few tribal council meetings, they have this format in place for other tribes. So we are not the first ones to implement something such as this practice.
That was my next question. I'm assuming that, and I've read through this. It does say in here that this has been worked out, or something very similar, at least, with other tribes.
Yes, there are several tribes that they have used, and whenever I consulted with ChatGPT, and they listed the tribes, and that's why we listed them here. And they are very pleased with the outcome and all of the added security that goes with this, because that was my concern. How I immediately put on my thieving cap and said, how can I manipulate this? How can I harvest votes?
Now, have you all had any contact with some of these tribes that have used this system?
No, but we're going to do that between now and the special tribal council meeting, and we may even have them do something like a Zoom call that we can record and play
some sort of demonstration.
Yes.
Okay.
Just show their how they have appreciated what has been done for their tribe.
And this next paragraph, it talks about a quote from the company, and I don't know if you want to even go into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I came up with mentioning the fuel cards, $14,000 for a handful, or do we want to spend half of that and make it available to the whole tribal voting entity, if you would?
Mm-hmm. And it says, well, I'll just read this off. It says their quote includes basically $6,700 for the keypads and $2,200 to enable remote participation for up to 2,000 members. If needed, additional members can vote at additional cost with no limit to participants. And then we won't know interest in participation until we start gathering information.
And that's why we are doing the pre-registration. That way, we're not going to overload the system.
Yeah, I can't imagine you could do this without some sort of pre-registration. And I mean, you can't just have people popping up. Hey, I want to join in. I want to join in. I want to play.
Yes. And so out of that, we have a timetable that will be, as we get closer to and discussing this more, we will have more set timetable on when the deadline is to register to vote remotely. And then we will have the buses. We still got to, that's a huge expense. We send buses out to the communities and pick up people, make it available. And a lot of time the buses return with no passengers. So that's $2,000 down the drain.
But the minute you don't go, someone's going to say, I waited there for an hour and a half. So,
Yes. And we have that. And then also the fuel cards. That way I don't have to track and be accountable. I'm still trying to find the paperwork for the fuel cards for the past year. I have not located any documentation on that. But that's another story. But the fuel cards would just be eliminated. And this would take precedent over issuing the fuel cards.
What's your, how are you looking at it? What's your timeline? I mean, what's the best case scenario of making this happen?
Hopefully we can obtain enough signatures on the petitions to call for the special tribal council meeting. I believe it's August, middle of August, something like that. And that will in turn have an opportunity to showcase how the remote voting will take place. We will have a live demonstration, show exactly what will take place. It's real time. There's no time lapse when all of the votes are tabulated. It's a real number, yes or no.
And so you're looking at what, next year?
No.
You're looking at this year?
Yes.
That is very ambitious.
Yes.
I think it's super ambitious, Albert, but
well,
you can't win if you don't play, right?
If I was working from home and doing nothing, this wouldn't even be on the table.
Yeah.
But I come into office practically every day. If I'm not at a meeting, I'm looking to see how we can bring tribal council into the 21st century, as you stated earlier.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot here, and we could probably spend another 20 minutes on that. But you brought a lot of stuff here. I don't know where you want to go.
Well, these are some other items that will be on the agenda to resolutions to be voted on at the August meeting. The first one, of course, is the remote voting. The next one is term limits for governor and lieutenant governor. And then the other resolution is the percentage of the election. Right now, we are at 30%. In order to call for a special election, we have to have 30% participation. This past special election we had not quite 10%. So what we're looking to do with this resolution, is to go from 30% to 15%.
You're talking of
individuals that respond through voting.
Tell me that one more time. To call a special.
In order for, like this past year, there were some items that we voted on. In order for those to be enacted, to where it's either a yes or a no, you had to have 30% of the whole.
The electorate,
if you would, yes. Mm-hmm. And so,
hold on, are we including the 15,000 members or the people who show up?
The voting members.
Basically, that has been for years, the people who are physically at the tribal council.
But the 30% was the total number of voters available. It's got to be 30%. If we didn't reach that plateau, then it's off the table.
Okay. And you're asking for that to be lowered to 15?
Yes. And then the other item is residency for governor and lieutenant governor, making it to where that individual from outside the district, the in-district area, individual can run for governor, lieutenant governor. If they win, they have to be in district by the time they're sworn in office. Because right now, with the residency requirement that is in place right now, it limits good applicants, good candidates to run for governor, lieutenant governor.
It limits them how?
Well, you've got people that work outside in the public workforce, say they are in Arizona, and say they are they've got the 4-year degree, interested in tribal government, want to apply, run for governor, lieutenant governor, but they can't because they live in Arizona. And so if this is implemented, individual, it widens.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
But I guess my question would be, this is just me, do we think that someone would really run from Arizona, and then if they were elected, would they pick up and move to Oklahoma? I mean, that's just something that's, the question I would ask, and I'm sure it's valid. I mean,
yes,
I'm sure there are people who could do that, and a lot of people who couldn't. But exactly. I see what you're saying. It's opening up the pool, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just trying to make sure I know what you're talking about, so I can ask an important question here, man.
Yep, I understand that, and it's a valid concern, valid question as to why. Well, do you want to choose from 4 people, or you can choose from 24 people?
Yeah, I hear you. And do we expect someone from Arizona to move here a year before the election and then run?
Well,
and then,
it would be a matter of weeks.
Yeah.
Because the election is in November, and then they take office January.
Yeah. But I mean, we don't expect someone to move here just so they can run.
No. Well, that's the way it is right now.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
And
now these you got 1, 2, 3, 4 here that we're talking about. Were these brought up? Where did these come from? Where did all these ideas for resolutions come from?
Just different tribal members have came up with these resolutions, and it has been, our Constitution has not been upgraded in quite some time, and this is a step in a direction to get the Constitution updated, because just for instance, there's another tribe to the south of us that they have the Constitution very similar to what we have. They've upgraded theirs. They allow for an at-large or out-of-district legislator, and I think that was vital. Has helped them out immensely. But we want to, right now, nope, you got to be in district, you have to be committed, and before you can run. And
yeah, so you're saying we don't have that written into our Constitution?
No.
It's not allowed right now?
No.
I see what you're saying.
No at-large. There's right now there are 8 legislators. If we had an out-of-district Arapaho legislator, out-of-district Cheyenne, that would be 10 legislators. Mm-hmm. And so, again, that's an upgrade on the Constitution. Because, as you mentioned at the beginning, the Constitution has been around since 2006. A lot has happened since 2006. Things have changed. As a tribe, we need to change with the times. And so that's my thought process on remote voting. A lot of these items here, see what we can do to upgrade.
I mean, big picture, you look at it, you think, well, it's only been 19 years. And that's really, in the whole scheme of things, that is a short time. But you throw in COVID and all the other things that have happened, well, a lot can happen in 19 years. And so I see, and I don't know which tribe you're talking about. I think I do, but anyway. But I can see how that would be what people think that'd be a good idea, that allows for that.
They see the need for it.
Yeah, anytime you make some sort of law or some sort of constitution, some sort of document, no, you can't expect it to live forever that particular way without being updated and modernized, or just like when they wrote, when the founding fathers wrote the Constitution.
Yes,
it's there were things that when that happened down the road they could never have thought of. But let's talk about this one right here.
Term limits. Yes.
Now didn't that come up last year?
It has been
the year
discussed.
before?
I think it was the year before. I believe it was the year before. Yes.
Is this and I don't know. Yeah, you were involved in that meeting. Is this resolution very, very similar to the last one?
I believe so. Yes.
And what are the details about this one right here?
Well, the details on this, let's just take a look. The removing the governor, lieutenant governor shall serve 4-year terms or until a successor has been sworn into office. The governor and lieutenant governor may serve as many terms in succession or otherwise as decided by voters. And
that's where it is now.
Yes, that's where it is right now. And it will be replaced with the governor or lieutenant governor shall serve 4-year terms or until a successor has been sworn into office. The governor and lieutenant governor shall be eligible to serve 3 consecutive terms under this Constitution. Under completion of the 3rd consecutive term, the governor and lieutenant governor shall not be eligible to serve as the governor or lieutenant governor until a period of 4 years has elapsed.
So someone could do 4 terms, just not consecutively.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I remember the discussion on this last time was, and I don't remember who brought it up, but the discussion was brought up about Bill Anatubby.
Mm-hmm.
Had that been on the books with him, well, who knows what would have happened, but some might argue that the success, the financial success of that tribe was based on the consistency they've had, and some might say the same with the Citizen Potawatomi, since Rocky Bear's been there so long. But again, I can see the argument how you don't want someone. I don't know. You get consistency versus. What's the word?
Dictatorship.
No, I was going to say someone who someone becomes too comfortable, and there's a word for that. I can't think of what it is. Someone who becomes, embedded in a certain.
Okay.
So I again, you must know, I'm not a tribal member, so I'm not trying to get political here. I'm just trying to say I remember when this was brought up, and those were the discussions that were had. So, but I totally understand this.
Yes. Yep. And so out of that, you'd mentioned Anatubby. Yeah, he has done quite well. Their tribe offers a lot of services. And whenever I point out how we as Cheyenne and Arapaho could do better, I'm told, then go enroll, be a Chickasaw. I'm just trying to point out that, hey, there's room for improvement. There's always room for improvement.
Well, wherever you are, there's room for improvement. I remember.
It doesn't matter if you're a ball player, politician, whatever. There's room for improvement, and that's what this is here. We've done very little to our Constitution, and it needs to. My deal is it needs to be upgraded.
One thing I think we talked about right before we started, and I mentioned something about it just a minute ago, is that I asked where these resolutions came from, and you mentioned they were from tribal members. And if you remember, I asked what kind of have you seen any increase in participation at all? Well, of course, I guess you can only look at the time that you've been in office here, but.
It's just 5 months.
Yeah. I was going to say, I mean, and maybe you have seen some, but I think, as myself as an outside observer, I think that the more that you give, the more information you can give people. I think the better, the more information that I can't speak. The more information you can provide to the electorate.
Yes.
Then I think the more beneficial it is, I think, for everyone involved.
And that's why with this, I had seen where another tribal entity, not Cheyenne and Arapaho, another tribal entity, their legislators, everybody that was in the elected position would go to each community and give their version of, okay, if you vote for this, here's what will happen. If you vote against it, here's what will happen. And that's what I intend to do, is make that available via Zoom for individuals that want to tune in on the ins and outs of each resolution. And I say Zoom because I've done 2 trips to practically every community that has an ERC building. The most tribal members that showed up was 8. More times than not, nobody showed up. Mm-hmm. And so
you could be discouraged by that, or you could be empowered and inspired by that, encouraged to make changes.
That's it. I had a choice. It's like, well, do I just stay home and say I'm working from home and collect a paycheck? Or do I keep on fighting? Do I keep on doing what I can to see how we can change? And that's how this remote voting came up.
I think, and again, I say I think, but just as an observer here, it would seem to reason that I know as myself as a voter in my county or whatever, or in my state, I don't want to go in and vote on something that I don't know much about.
Correct.
Now, I'll admit I have done it before, but I don't make a habit of it. I try to follow, what the issue is, how it's going to affect me, my property taxes, or how whatever it's going to do, and then I try to talk to people who know something about it. And it seems to me that the more you know about the issue, probably anyone could read one of these, any resolution and go, what? No way, no way I'm going to vote against that. And some people go, well, yeah, shoot, I'm all for that. Mm-hmm. But I think the answer lies in the middle somewhere. You've got to hear both sides, and you've got to hear how it's going to affect you. And so the more information that you can make available, then the better off it would seem that we would all be.
And that's why on each of these 4 items here, I say, here's what happens if you vote no. Here's what happens if you vote yes. It makes no difference to me how you vote. Just vote. And that's why we have this pre-registration for this. If the remote voting does go through pre-registration, it would be great if we had 8,000 participate. But we will see. I would about bet if the remote participation comes into play that there will be more than 400 votes taking place.
Well, again, I think it's very, very ambitious to try to get this done this year. I'm not saying it can't happen. I think of all the stuff I got going on this year.
Hey,
and I'm just glad I'm not involved necessarily in this, because
I have great support. Ramona Tallbear has just been. I would be lost without her. Without Ramona and her experience, I'd be sitting in that little closet saying, what do I do now? Maybe I paint the walls. But no, that's not happening. We're involved in the different department meetings and all the other activities that take place that I believe that the tribal council members should be informed about. And that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, it would be, as our world gets, as our worlds get larger and busier, it's so easy to say, well, I'm too busy, I can't make it.
Yes,
and sometimes it's true. And if you got 5 kids and they each got soccer games happening on the same day, and I get it,
I understand.
But if you're too busy because you got to watch something on TV, I'm like, maybe you're not busy.
Yes.
And so, what?
Or going casino.
Oh no,
powwow, whatever.
That's true. We're powwow season now. With stuff is happening every weekend, so I understand.
Graduation.
Yeah.
Again,
absolutely.
You did a great job with the graduation. I know you made an impression on a lot of the graduates.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's
yes.
good to hear. Every once in a while, hopefully they can listen to an old dude, take some advice. So, Okay, did we miss anything here,
Nope,
Albert?
we're good to go.
Albert, okay. Well, again, this is the third time you've been here, and I've got to tell you, I always learn a little something when we're here, and that's good to know. So, and I think, that's something that, speaking of giving advice, I would just, you throw this advice out there. Take it if you want. If you don't take it at all.
That's it.
I think it's if you can learn a little something every now and then, every few days, that's only
keep an open mind.
It's only going to benefit you. And
be willing to learn.
Yeah. If you have not read the Constitution, nobody expects you to take it down and just read the whole thing from top to bottom. Do it a piece at a time, and if you there are legislators down that side of the hall,
yes,
who I'm sure they could help you out and help you understand.
There's
things.
offices down the hall. I don't know that they're in the office.
Well, I've seen them. I haven't.
You see them in the hallway?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
See, they're not in this. They're not in this hallway. I see them in that hallway.
Okay. All right.
But no, I see them, and I know that those folks they want members to know what's going on too. It's just we live in this tribal service area is 11 counties. Let's just be honest. And if we were one county or two counties, man, life would be so much easier for everyone involved, I think.
And here's something else with those 11 counties, because we've got individuals that live in counties that touch up to those 11 counties.
That's true, yeah.
Why can't we include those that have contact with the 11 counties? Something to think about, people.
Whew, that's another show. But
see, this is what I think about when I go to the that room.
The closet. On that note,
yes.
Thanks for stopping by, and
it's always a pleasure.
It's always a good time.
Always a pleasure to be here. You always make me feel welcome, and look forward to the next time.
And so, thank you for joining us here on this Cheyenne and Arapaho Productions podcast with our tribal council coordinator, Albert Oldcrow. And I'm sure that he will be back to bring us some more info sometime soon. We can't get rid of him. I'm kidding.
I know. I like your sense of humor.
We'll see you guys next time.